from PRX.
Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for the podcaster who's getting seasonal with you. We'll be getting seasonal with Garfield tonight, yeah, it'll be good, and I'm looking forward to it, and I'll be pondering things and pondering Garfield's Halloween adventure. And I think that, or whatever, yeah, maybe that might even be what it's called. And who knows what kind of tangents I'll go on. So if you're looking for something seasonal with a seasonal special, we love doing this kind of stuff here at Sleep With Me. And this is a show, if you're new, welcome, by the way. This is a podcast to keep you company in the deep, dark night and take your mind off of stuff. It's for grown-ups, but a lot of, different age groups listen, because this show is kind of designed to be your friend. Just like in this particular one, almost like we watched a couple seasonal autumnal specials together, and then you called me, or we were roommates, or we were on a camping trip, or I was in the other room, and you said, hey, tell me about that special again. It was different, huh? Yeah, it was. I could talk about it. So, and then I'll go on and on and on about it. But you don't have to pay attention to me. But you could listen to me, but almost in a way that's just distracting. That's not super engaging. That's the goal. My goal is to help you out. If you can't sleep or you're just having a tough time in the deep, dark night, as I call it. I'm not the first one, obviously, to call it that. So, I'm glad you're here. And if you're new, welcome. Give the show a few tries, see how it goes. Regular listeners, always good to have you back. Always good to be recording these seasonal episodes of mine with you, the regular listeners, because I want to make it special, right? And if you get that specialness and you get that feeling on a regular basis, you say, Sleep With Me does make my bedtime special. We really could we can always use your help through action, whether it's supporting the show directly, and you get the best way to listen to the show, spreading the word about the show, helping out the sponsors, and being kind out there in the world. So here's a couple of ways if you say, yes, Sleep With Me is special to me, that you could give some special back. Thanks. Sleep With Me podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this episode today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots here. This message is for people who support the show on Sleep With Me Plus. So if you're hearing this message and you support the show on Sleep With Me Plus, you shouldn't be hearing this message because this is in the ad-supported feed that I'm running this message. So please get all your Sleep With Me Plus content set up. It should be in your email if you just search for Sleep With Me Plus or Supercast in your email. You could always reach me through the contact form on our website because I don't want you missing out. You have every episode as it comes out, ad-free, the full episode. Then every episode as it comes out, the story-only episode in a separate story-only podcast. There's bonus shows, read with me shows. If you support it, if you're a Boar Bestie or Boar Friend, you got all intros come out twice a month, an all-night compilation, like a 4-hour compilation episode. And those feeds go so far back. We designed Sleep With Me Plus with super listeners in mind, or super fans or people that love the podcast. So if you listen all night long, you know what's perfect? The ad-free episodes. If you fall asleep fast, you've got so many options, story-only episodes, but you don't have to worry about anything interrupting, especially if you fall asleep fast. You can really build your playlist however you listen, if you listen a lot, but make sure you have everything set up. And also, if you haven't checked out Sleep With Me Plus, you know there is a 7-day trial, so check it out and test that out. Test out the story-only episodes if you listen all night long. If you fall asleep fast, test out the ad-free feed. If you love all intros, check out all intros. I think there's 200-300 episodes. In the bonus feed, there's on some Saturdays, we put out a Posty Super Deluxe, which is experimental takes on episodes. There's Fearless Flyer episodes that have only been released on Sleep With Me Plus and Patreon. There's Ray episodes. There's tons of stuff to discover, and all your old favorites are there. And you could do all that if you have. Oh, actually, either way, go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. You could sign up for a trial, or then you could log in and get everything set up right there. Go to sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. If you're already supporting the show there, log in, add all of those podcasts to your podcast app, and you're good to go. Thanks, everybody. Hey, are you up all night tossing, turning, mind racing, trouble, getting to sleep, trouble staying asleep? Well, welcome. This is Sleep With Me, the podcast that puts you to sleep. We do it with a bedtime story. All you need to do is get in bed, turn out the lights, and press play. I'm going to do the rest. And what I'm going to attempt to do is create a safe place where you could set aside whatever's keeping you awake. It could be thoughts on your mind, things you're thinking about, thoughts about the past, present, the future. So thinking, thoughts, the thoughts that have been thinking thoughts. These thoughts got me thinking. That sounds like that could be a decent Shabuzi. What do you think? Or anybody else? Like probably Shabuzi though. Say, what do you think? What if we could do? Could we do it? Would it be all right if we did an album, like dedicate, like in the spirit of Emmett Otter and the Jug Band Christmas? I mean, we could do a holiday one. We could also do an autumnal one. This one would be the bedtime version of, you see, thoughts. What did I say? I'm thinking in thoughts, man. Kind of like a boat. I guess that was the analogy I was going for, just because of this episode of Garfield. There's a little bit of boating, rowboating. I think we could do it. And then the video, it's Shabuzi and I do like saying Shabuzi. So, I mean, I guess I like, yeah, so anyway, think about it. What's that have to do with sleep podcast? Well, thoughts, it could be keeping you up. If feelings, like anything related to those thoughts, emotions coming up for you, emotions that are left over. Yeah, feelings, physical sensations, changes in time, temperature, routine. You could have something coming up. You could be in the middle of something, getting over something, going through something. Maybe it's travel or guests. Maybe it's your work schedule changed. Maybe something tough is going on. Or maybe it's like me, a kind of ongoing, interesting relationship with sleep, a lifetime with sleep. And whatever it is, I'm here to try to help. And the reason I make this show is there's two sides to the reason, I guess, or twofold. Not good at folding things, so I try to stay away from those folding-based metaphors. Like, if there was a way to say origami as a word that's like a 4-letter word for origami, they would say that, like an origami instructor, or it was like a thought bubble or a word bubble. Like they were in if I was in an anime, this is such a tangent, but if I was in an animated or illustrated comic strip or animated show where I was taking an origami class, even if it was like my 5,000th class, probably 5,000 classes, we would have decided jointly after 3 classes to be like, let's not have you. I don't think origami's for you. See, like the unprecedented amount of paper cuts alone. But it's more of the folding, not the paper cuts that, so the origami instructor would say, or a 4-letter word for origami, or just say origami, but it would be all caps or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I frustrate, but believe me, I haven't taken an origami class because I appreciate origami teachers. I said, you don't want me? Like, believe me. Oh, I'm the most patient. No, trust me. Just trust me. Oh no, I have the greatest amount of patience of it. You do currently, right? So I'm just saving. Let's keep that patience for your origami students. You do not want me And as a matter of fact, I'll just tell you, I think I have somewhere in my life encountered like the Klutz books, a book of origami, or, an easy guide to origami. And if it isn't buried in a pile somewhere, and it doesn't have any stains from coffee or some sort of like, just some sort of grease stain on it, or it's not crumbled or folded up anyway. See, so trust me. You don't need me. You don't origami in me. I appreciate it. Like looking at it. I'm impressed by it. Like so many things. And it's not like I'm saying it's just origami and me are not a match. It's like pretty simple. It's I don't know if we'd be friends. Now it's like feels like a dating thing. It's like, no, we've agreed that we're not a match. But someone's like, no, trust me. Just trust me. I can make you love it's not that I don't love origami. It's to get back to that earlier, why I don't use paper folding metaphors. Though in this particular circumstance, it's kind of worked out, is because I'm not good at folding. What do you mean you're not good at folding? Well, under pressure, believe me, that I'm good at. Hardy har. Folding paper. I just never, I think it comes with like, my differences. Yeah. I'm a little bit crooked. And I think that comes from your folding soft. It's been off my whole life. Well, don't you want to? No, I don't know if it's fixable, and that's okay. Or, let the people that, it's, I'm better off making metaphors and going off topic. I don't know. These may be the healthiest thoughts I've ever, just in case you're listening, I've recorded like whatever, 1,400 something episodes. You may be, if you just happen to be paying attention, these may be the healthiest thoughts that I've ever gone through my brain. I'm pretty sure, and I don't want to brag because you say, well, I don't know how to feel about that for you. I say, well, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's a very human reaction. But I'm just being honest. I don't know if I've ever had healthier thoughts go through my brain that it's okay. I'll never make it like again, if I was like watching one of my nieces or nephews, let me just equivocate. What is this equivocation? I don't know what it is, but if I was watching my niece or nephew or something, one of them, and they said, by the way, this is true too. They call me Uncle Baby. That's my nickname from a certain portion of my nieces and nephews. And it's not meant like, I've talked about this, like it's not like I'm a jazz singer, like Uncle Baby, man, I'm here to lay down the sax. It's like, Uncle Baby, like you can figure it out from, you know me well enough. But if they were like, hey, we want to make some origami, I'd be more than happy to do that. That would be the right context for me. I'm just saying the origami path for me is closed. So I think that metaphor, I could do another 20 minutes about like this, but we got to get to the rest of the intro. So it could be thoughts, feelings, why make the show twofold? That's where that came from. Wow, that was like a 12-fold. That's why I can't fold papers. I just went on a like 8-minute metaphor about twofold. So I make the show for two reasons, or two main reasons. One, I've been there and I know how it feels. Tossing, turning, trouble getting sleep, trouble staying asleep, trouble waking up early. All that stuff, not sleeping good, all of it. And I know what it feels like for me. And I know what it feels like when I'm not getting the rest I need, when I can't get the rest I need, when it's pulled out from under me, and in the middle of the night, and a bunch of other things. And I'm not sure what it feels like for you, but if we share some of that stuff, even the deep underlying feelings beneath all that, or the physical sensations or any of that, and I can help you out. Like I can relieve something that is uncomfortable for me, or that's a way to minimize it right now. And if it's uncomfortable or much stronger than that for you, and I can help you out, that's cool, man. That's important to me. Because easing your discomfort, it gives me meaning. Now, you may say, well, you can't relate to, I'd say, well, if I can't relate to underlying feelings for you, there's another piece of good news. You say, I'm going through something there's no chance you could relate to how it feels. I believe you, because I've heard from a lot of people over the years. I've been making the show a while now. And here's the thing. There is someone listening right now in the world who can relate to how you feel. And to them, it is important. And to them, they are hopeful. And they're like, wow, I know what that feels like. And I know what it's like. And they're saying, I found this podcast and it helps me. I hope it helps you. So they are rooting for you. Not only that the podcast can help you out and give you some relief or some sleep, but that one day, even if it's on another sleep podcast, like this show doesn't work for you and you listen to something else, that you could be rooting for a new listener too, that you share stuff with, because that feels good. Just like for me, knowing that there's people out there struggling with all these different types of sleep and stuff, that maybe me goofing around. And I mean, tonight it was a breakthrough, right? Healthiest thoughts I ever thought. That it's just me and the origami aren't a fit. Talk about a love story. Somebody remind me to do something about this about Valentine's Day. They said that's the opposite of a love story. Yeah, I mean, what could be more loving than agreeing? I mean, now I'm personifying origami in addition to saying we're not a fit. But yeah, I mean, what could be more loving than saying, I mean, it is loving to tell the teacher, no matter how much patience you have, having me as adjusted as you are and as functioning as you think I am on your first impressions, I'm pretty confident I could say that you do not want me in your origami class, especially if it's more than 5 minutes and meets more than once a week. So I think that's a loving thing. That's why I said, this is a healthy, man. I don't know. I feel like a changed person. I've been origamied. I've been unfolded. And then I feel like a swan or a goose. I said, which one is that? I said, well, it's okay either way. So that's why I make the show. That's one reason. The other reason, I'd like you all to become swans and geese, to be unfolded and then refolded or whatever. Sorry, my brain's already thinking of stuff related to the Valentine's version, romanflet of this. Okay, so the other side, there is other reason to make shows because you deserve a bedtime where you could get the rest you need so your life is more manageable tomorrow, and that you could get the rest you need on a regular basis so you could be out there living your life and flourishing, and that's important. You deserve a bedtime you don't have to dread. So those are the reasons I make the show. What I do is I send my voice across the deep, dark night. I use lulling, soothing, creaky, dulcet tones, pointless meanders, and superfluous tangents. So I go off topic, I get mixed up, I forget what I was talking about. I mean, it's been a tangent-filled episode already. And that's all part of the process, right? Because this is a show you just barely listen to. You kind of listen to it. You're kind of paying attention, but you're not totally paying attention. It's like background noise or TV on in the other room or a show streaming under your pillow, out of focus picture, sand running through your hands. So that's one part of the show takes some getting used to. Oh, by the way, this show also takes a lot of getting used to for most people. And I think, again, just like all this other stuff, that's a good thing. Like if you got here, you're probably skeptical or doubtful. You're probably frustrated if you're new or at least confused. And why wouldn't you be? You tuned into a show, a sleep podcast, and I've done about 12 minutes of talking about paper folding. And you may be confused, or how does this even work? Or why does this even work? And that's why I say give it a few tries. That's what most listeners say, because this show works kind of indirectly, just like friendship works. I'm trying to think of an origami metaphor, but I can't think of one because all the folding. I mean, there's probably some indirect thing. I mean, I can't, again, another positive thing. I can't believe when you're folding that stuff, then it looks like something. I say, oh boy, it is like magic to me. So this show is a little bit like that, where it's like all of a sudden you realize, oh, wait a second, I fell asleep. I listened to that show 2 or 3 times. I was like, when is this guy going to start putting me to sleep? And then I realized I was asleep. So that does take some getting used to. And some people never like me or the show, or they grow out of liking me or whatever. They're like, and that's okay. So we have a website set up for that, sleepwithmepodcast.com/no thank you. And the reason we have that up is because you still deserve a good night's sleep, even if you don't like me strongly. And that will get you to something to help you fall asleep, other sleep podcasts and sleepy stuff. And if you got a vent, it gives you places to vent too, so that you can move on and get into sleep, or just get to something that might work. So what else do you need to know? A show you don't really listen to. Also, I don't put you to sleep. This podcast is not here to put you to sleep. There's no pressure to fall asleep with this show. I'm going to be here over an hour because my job is not to put you to sleep. It's here to keep you company while you fall asleep. There's no pressure to fall asleep at all because there's people listening who can't sleep at all or who need a break during the day. And I'm here to the very end, whether you're awake or asleep, because my job is just to keep you company and distract you from whatever it is that's keeping you awake, or how it feels to have a friendly voice, because I'm here to be your boar friend, your boar bae, your boar sib, your boar bud, your neighbor, your boar bee, your boars, your Boris Borloff, your Borman, your Borby. Did I say Borby? Your best boar friend forever, to keep you company and just hang with you. So it's a little bit different, right? So what else do you need to know? Oh, structure the show is the last thing I like to point out, just because if you're new, you may be wondering why the show is structured the way it is, or if you're coming back or whatever. I mean, we don't really change much. But the show is adaptable, or like, okay, the reason we structure the show the way we do it is to benefit the maximum amount of people we can. But if you start to become a regular listener, you fall into certain niches, there's ways to adjust the show based on how you prefer to listen. So the show starts off with a greeting. Almost everything we do starts off with a greeting. Friends beyond the binary, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. So you feel seen and welcomed in. Maybe I say something silly, so you get a tone for what the podcast is. Then there's support, because most people only listen to the show while they're going through something or they're not in a position to support the show. So the idea of paying for the podcast being optional means we can benefit a lot more people based on the people that support the sponsors or support the show. And if you decide you want something without ads, you get that at Sleep With Me Plus. But for most people, it's like it works for them. Then after the support is a long meandering intro, which we're about 20 minutes into or 18 minutes into, totally separate from the support. It's a show within a show where I attempt to introduce the podcast, but it takes me 18 to 20 minutes or so. Sometimes it takes less. But that is kind of a twofold thing, too. The intro is meant to introduce the podcast, to follow a familiar structure, but it's meant to be different and meandering every time, so that whatever keeps you awake, in my theory, or just like my experience and what works for the people this show works for, is that familiarity but variety helps. Whatever it is, whatever's happening in the background, it helps it be put at ease or distracted. And it's also like our hang time. Like, when else am I going to go on a tangent about origami? The rest of the episode when I go on tangents? No, it gives me a chance to be a little bit more personal. And we're hanging out and winding down. And so you could listen as you're getting comfortable in bed, you're getting ready for bed, or you're doing some other chill activity. And while there is a percentage of people that fall asleep fast, we always recommend, one, supporting the show. If you fall asleep fast on a regular basis, we need you. But You could also listen to the bedtime stories from Sleep With Me, which doesn't have intros, but most people use the intro to wind down as a buffer between being awake and asleep to ease into bedtime. That's what has been shown to work and what works for me personally most of the time. Then after the intro, support, and then tonight I'll be talking about Garfield's autumnal special, and I don't know how long that'll take because I haven't recorded the episode yet, and then I don't know if I need more stuff. I don't know what I'll talk about after, but I'm pretty sure I could talk about it for 50 minutes or so. So all told, we'll be here about an hour, and I'm really glad you're here, whether you're a new listener or you're a regular listener, you kind of come and go. And I really want to help you fall asleep. And there's a team of people that work on this show. We all yearn and strive to help you fall asleep. So thanks again for coming by. But if Sleep With Me makes your life better on a regular basis, I strongly encourage you to check out Sleep With Me Plus so you get the joy of like something that's designed with how you listen in mind, but also the joy of being a part of this. But you could also, there's other ways you could support the show, like our sponsors and stuff like this that I'll talk about right now. So if you do want to opt in, these are the ways to do it. Thanks. Hey, everybody, this is Scoots, and this message is only for super fans of the podcast, people that, particularly if you listen all night long or you fall asleep fast, listen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 nights a week, or you've been listening longer than a year, longer than 3 years. If that's not the case, this is not a message directed at you. But if you're in one of those groups, you're just like, this podcast has changed my life so much. I do have to ask you, would you miss the podcast if it's gone? And if the answer's no, or nah, I'd find something else, or yeah, no, I have 3 sleep backup podcasts, don't worry about it. But if you would miss this podcast if it's gone, and you have not considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, we really do need your support. We've been trying to get it since April, and I've been really working hard at just getting your attention. And it's fine if you've decided not to support the podcast, but if you've considered it and are putting it off, don't put it off any longer, because if you'd miss the podcast if it's gone, and you haven't considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, I mean, not only do you get tons of amazing bonus content, but it's what keeps the show around. So if you'd miss the show if it's gone, and you haven't considered supporting the show on Sleep With Me Plus, please try it out right now. Right now. Don't wait till tomorrow. Set up the bonus content tomorrow. But if you'd miss a show, if it's going to take action right now, sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Test it out. See what you think. And become a part of the future of this show. And it'll be around. That's at sleepwithmepodcast.com/plus. Thanks. Everybody, Scoots here, and in this episode we're going to be covering the autumnal adventure, Garfield's Halloween Adventure from 1985. And apparently, so I remember, I didn't even remember enough of this to do a tale of the tape about it. So I did I watched it a couple times, in preparation for this. Actually, I watched it last year, I think twice too. I was going to do it last year. And I was struck by a lot of things. One, I guess I wasn't a super fan. I don't have anything against Garfield. Let me just put that out there first. I consumed a lot of Garfield, I guess specials, it looks like, in the 80s, because there was multiple ones. And I had a general idea of Garfield's style and voice. I also had kids at my school that had all the Garfield books, but we didn't. It was kind of like one of the early collectibles, like Peanuts books, Garfield books. And maybe that played a part in how I felt about Garfield. My feeling that I didn't have those Garfield books may have impacted, you know what I mean? When you're a kid and you don't have something and other kids have it and it's collectible and it seems cool. But now I realize I was mistaken. Like, those kids were really getting a lot of, eventually, but it wasn't until I was not a kid that I read a lot of, I would read Calvin and Hobbes when I could, but when I read the Calvin and Hobbes books, it wasn't until I could either get, it wasn't when I was a kid, or even a teen. but I derived a lot of pleasure from that, just like derived pleasure from reading. So this special came out in 1985. But I did kind of look on Wikipedia, and if we have time, we'll look at the Wikipedia article about it, because I was like, why is this so archetypal? And I think the reason is because it came out the same time as, when it was broadcast, with, It's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, or Go ahead, That's a Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. I'm kidding, and I'm not kidding. So I think that's why it was traditionally broadcast as that. Now it's on streaming. It is on. Here's the thing: if you get the streaming service, you can watch Poker Face season 1 and season 2. Which, while I can't cover Poker Face at this time, I love it. And I haven't, when I'm recording this. By the time you hear this, I'll have already watched season 2. But, I record these pretty far ahead of time. So I'm going to look up Garfield on my pad for viewing here. It's like you got to put a lot into it, though, which is wild. Garf. I forgot the F. That's why. Garf. Garf. Oh, there it is. Okay, great. I do want to say a couple other things about the special before I start playing it, which is that, so it is, what is it? It's 24 minutes and 9 seconds long without commercials, even though on this service that I pay for, of course, there's commercial, unlike, I'm saying, but there's commercials, right? But there's not ones at the traditional commercial breaks there were. But this is the tightest, 24 minutes and 9 seconds. Is that what I said? I can't believe it. In fact, it's kind of 2 specials in one. And it's just impressive. It's somewhat of a musical or has musical numbers. And just that's only in the first 10 to 12 minutes, and it packs a bunch of them in there. So the efficiency of the storytelling is mind-blowing. I mean, I'm not, it really is mind-blowing. So, even now, after watching it, because I remember I was in my opinion, because I'm not, I realize this has a special place in a lot of people's hearts, so I'm not trying to, I have no critical thoughts about this. I just have an emotional distance to this for some reason I don't even quite understand. Because there was a lot I like about it. But as a kid, I just didn't, I don't know. I mean, I know I watched it multiple times, I'm sure. I guess maybe we just didn't have it on VHS to watch it over and over and over again. But when I was watching it last year, I was like, this is kind of dragging. What is this, an hour special? But no, it's only 24 minutes. But I think that, that really is a compliment. I mean, when I was watching it just recently, only hours ago before recording this, I was like, man, what they do in the first 4 to 6 minutes, it would take me, it would be 2 episodes of a podcast. Okay, so I'm at the opening shot. I just happened to get it paused, and it's actually, pause is really clear. So compliments to the app. And it's a shot of a suburban neighborhood. It actually reminds me a lot of The Simpsons and even the art style and stuff. So interesting. And at first I wasn't sure if it was dusk or dawn when I finally started taking notes. But even when I watched it a couple days ago, I was is this dusk or dawn? I didn't say that specifically. I was like, is Garfield, that question will be answered. There's almost a little Northern Lights effect. And I found I really do like this 2D style of animation, which I'm assuming is a little bit more within budget constraints, because a lot of the backgrounds are still, I don't know the terminology, but they're Garfield and Odie would move, but the background would be static. But that it was done in a way that was visually appealing to me. And this particular scene is very visually appealing on pause. And actually, they live in a region, makes me ponder where they live, because there's hills or, near mountains or very tall hills in their suburb where they must live. Okay, so it starts out and we get a panning shot till we get to their house. Again, very much like The Simpsons, so much so that I'm like, wait a second. Their house has a little bit more detail. There's light coming out of one window, and they must have a detached garage and the house has a side door instead of a front door. So we zoom in on the window. Then we see through the window, and we're going to go through the window into Garfield's home. Oh, they have a planter box outside the window, or John does. Oh, by the way, if you don't know who Garfield is, just in case, because I realized there was a movie, but that was like, I don't know if that was in the aughts, the 10s, or the 20s, or the 90s. So Garfield was a book. Like a comic strip, I think a newspaper comic strip and books. Then Garfield was animated specials. Garfield was also in movies. Garfield has been a pretty merch in Garfield toys. Not on the same level as other stuff that I know of, but I could be wrong. As a plush, I'm sure some kids had Garfield. So, Garfield's an orange cat who loves lasagna, lives in both worlds of these kind of animated characters. So to John, the owner of Garfield isn't just a cat. So I've never seen the animated movies, so let me just say that. I'm pretty sure they're live action animated movies. So I have not seen those. But Garfield, to John, the owner, in the animated specials that I know of, is an amazing cat, but still a normal, the best kind of ordinary regular cat. But also tests John's patience. Then John also has a dog, Odie, who's a little bit more dog and puppy-like. Garfield loves lasagna. That's probably now I'm like, Garfield's known for lounging, chilling, eating lasagna, and having a bit of tude. He's a bit of a snarky, he's pretty witty. He's a personality, that Garfield. Now, in this particular one, we're zooming in through the window of John's home where Garfield lives. The TV is on, and Garfield is sleeping under his blanket. Now, again, let me give you another moment in cultural history. Once upon a time, kids, we could only watch things on televisions or in the movie theater. There was no other devices for consuming moving visual content. I don't know. Not only that, there was a time in history, I think even before there was cable, there was over-the-air television, which I'm sure you've heard about, maybe on some, a ride at Epcot Center. I don't even know, where you would have learned this ancient history. But TV was broadcast over there. Then we had cable TV. I think even in the cable TV era, content was not available 24 hours a day. One, the content was streamed out to us, but we didn't have any control over it. It was linear. So you could only watch what was on when it was on. But the broadcast today, as they call it, I've talked about this on other versions of the show, ended at some point and then started again because so few people were watching TV between the hours of, we'll just say 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. or 1 a.m. and 5 a.m. It's kind of a cool thing. They would play something or they'd have this thing. And Garfield's, it just has a test pattern with a 3. And you'll see this still in movies. And actually, I'm pretty sure there was times even when I had over-the-air television that I tried to discover this, even as an adult that was in his cups. But I don't know. Sometimes fiction fuses with reality. So Garfield is watching, the TV is on, it's on a test pattern, and Garfield's asleep, which again is another device for movies or of stuff of this era. Because when the test pattern's on TV, it gives you a time of day. And usually the idea that the person has fallen asleep because you won't intentionally, like with the TV on. So we have that bit of information. Okay, so then we zoom in. But we still don't know. I still didn't know if Garfield fell asleep and it's late at night or is it early in the morning. Okay, so we get there. And then this is like so sweet. Like this is irony or whatever. Like the TV channel starts its broadcast day. So I'd presume it's somewhere around 5 or 6 a.m. The name of the channel is WBOR, W Bor, which I didn't look up. I guess like that'll be another thing to look up if we have extra time to see if it actually exists or if it's purchasable. And it's like an easy viewing, easy listening station. But that's also used as a to deliver humor, because what we find out is that the first program is a children's program of very high energy, and it's a high energy person who likes to Binky, the person with that wears like a reddish nose and a hat and kind of pajamas, and goes in a small car with a bunch of their other friends. And Binky has a tutu on also, and immediately says, "Wake up, kids, and start doing your jumping jacks." Also, Garfield has bags under his eyes. He's been woken up by Binky's jumping jacks and loud, exciting talking. But there's a piece of exposition, which we already know kind of from the title of the thing, but Garfield doesn't. So Binky says, yeah, get up and do those things. And you got to be in shape for tonight, Binky says, because, and Garfield's like, I got to get this off. I got to go back to sleep or whatever. So Garfield's looking for his remote control while Binky's like, yeah, you got to do more jumping jacks. You'll be in tonight to get candy. But Garfield's like so tired. He finally finds his remote, starts changing the channel or trying to turn it off. I think just turn it off. Let's see what happens here. He's like grinding his teeth or whatever. Got to get a lot of candy. Tonight's the night you get a lot of candy, says Binky. And he's a bit like Sideshow Bob. And yeah, then Garfield says, take that, Binky. Wait a second. Did you say candy? Also, at this moment, on one of these scenes, there's a piece of hair caught in the film. It must have been caught in, I don't know if it was in the final print. So a little piece of history. This is on Peacock, the version on Peacock. But Garfield says, wait a second. Did he say something about candy? And then, yeah, Binky's like, tonight is Halloween night. First, Garfield goes through a bunch of other channels and then finds Binky. So, yeah, you're going to get to go trick-or-treating and get some candy. I've never explained that. So I didn't finish explaining. Garfield's very happy about that. So, by the way, Garfield also, when he's not around John, he's a fully sentient cat of, I'd say, high intelligence. But he also is like a bit like Richard Warren. Like he's a bit consumed by what Garfield wants and what's important to Garfield. Okay, but then Garfield launches into a song, 1:45. He's singing, "This is the night, this is the night." I'm gonna put on my best disguise and knock on doors. He's dancing. This is the night. So we get a montage. He's really dancing, hitting the streets. And then we have the opening, Garfield's Autumnal Adventure. So many good things to eat. Written and created by Jim Davis. Executive producer Jay Poynor. Phil Roman, producer. He's singing about trick-or-treating. Garfield's kind of singing and also he's mugging it up for the camera, I guess, putting on a show. trick or treat, singing more. Then he goes back to bed. First Halloween's my kind of holiday. I don't like those other holidays. I like candy. But yeah, he dances, my kind of holiday. But now I got to go back to bed. Like in candy, simple, clear. That's me. So he goes back to bed. The next time he wakes up, it's clearly dusk or sunset. He says, "Hello, Halloween. Let's get to it." TV's off. He's excited about candy. So he's like, "Okay, I need a costume to get this candy in a sack." So 2 things we need is a sack and a sack to hold the candy and a costume so I can acquire the candy. First, you got to get out of bed, though. Then he puts his blanket back over him and he goes around the house. And we first meet John, who is making a lantern of jacking. He's cleaning out his pumpkin. He already carved his pumpkin, but he's still cleaning it out. I guess doing his final cleaning. And he says, Garfield surprises him with his blanket. He goes, "That's not funny." Then he wears the pumpkin as a kind of an outfit. Then Garfield makes silly faces, which John loves. It makes him very happy. And he's like, "Man, Garfield, I forgot how much I love you, man. Like, you are a funny cat. Cats that make funny faces." So he's like, "Man, I can't even be irritated by you, to Garfield, or I can't stay irritated by you. Are you practicing for Halloween?" And Garfield kind of doesn't. This is tough. I guess is like we could see Garfield communicating with John, but this is like for the audience only, maybe, because he's like, "Yeah, just like Scoots. I have like a sense of knowing all." So he's like, "I know everything about Halloween." Then John kind of explains what a pumpkin and a lantern of jacking is. But Garfield also wonders if the pumpkin seeds are lasagna, which he finds out that isn't. Then John's like, "I got to do another lantern because I wore this on my head." He lets Odie wear it. And then Garfield's like, "I guess I don't like pumpkin seeds." Then John feeds Garfield. He offers Garfield a human breakfast. So this is fiction, by the way, right? So just remember that, kids, is that in this animated special only, cats and dogs can eat whatever they want. Not true in the real world, actually. Just like the cats don't talk to us, they don't sing songs. You can't easily put a pumpkin on your head the way John did. Also, it's just fictional. John's feeding his cat a gigantic human breakfast or offering it to him, including coffee or tea. Because Garfield represents just a few of those 7 things you're not supposed to do all the time. Not all of them. Because, he doesn't represent all of them, but just a couple of them. I guess, the fish song, "You Call Me the Sloth," Italian spaghetti. Maybe that would be different. He's like, "You call me Garfield, I eat a lot of lasagna." Okay, so he does offer him human breakfast, and then Garfield's like, first, "No, well, I'll take a sweet roll. Croissant and bacon. You know what? I'll take everything." Also, it's interesting that it's breakfast, but it's nighttime. Or late evening. Time's a little bit more malleable, I guess. But that's cool. Then Odie's drinking water. Garfield surprises Odie. Odie's still wearing the pumpkin. So that surprises Garfield. It's also, Odie's very cute. Odie's tongue is always out like a dog, like that's panting with joy and excitement. Because Odie's like your prototypical puppy. It's spelled O-D-I-E. I think someone older than me, somebody had a nickname Odie. Okay, so then Garfield says, "Hey, don't surprise me, Odie. I won't surprise you." Then he walks off. Then this is interesting, and this is a dated thing that we still have sometimes. Well, it's not dated, I guess. But Garfield decides to do material at Odie's expense, which is like as if you were roasting pumpkin seeds. Garfield is having a roast of pumpkin seeds at Odie's expense. So he makes a bunch of jokes about Odie. And kind of in like a little bit of like a vaudevillian, like Borscht Belt style, like humor. Kind of like, my dog Odie, the odious, does that, have to do with how dogs smell? Something like that, but funny. I guess would be the difference. Okay, so he does material, but this is still only for 6 minutes into the show. So it's like you're somehow taking the time to do some like stand-up type routine, and you're not, like, the time is still moving. I don't know how, maybe Garfield means defying time. But this also helps Garfield realize, wait a second, if I bring Odie with me trick-or-treating, we can gain twice as much candy. And, Odie can carry one bag, and he'll get a bag filled. So he goes to Odie. He says, are you familiar with Halloween? You want to hang with me? And again, this is another shot I really like it. They're standing, even though it's 1D or 2D or whatever, it's like a really great sense of depth in simplicity. They're like standing in the front hall. And, the background is the front door, like a table with, this is back when you had telephone fixed to things and a lamp and some pictures and stuff and a rug. But he basically works this deal with the dog to come with me. Odie, we'll go trick-or-treating together. This will be great. It's a special night for dogs and cats to get candy. And if the dog carries the candy for the cat, you get one piece of candy of your own. Also, again, fiction. Dogs and cats can't have candy. I had to explain this to my father once when he was giving jelly beans to Koa. And I said, Koa doesn't eat jelly. Like, I don't even have any idea. Please don't feed Koa any jelly beans. It ended up being, I caught it early. Then they go upstairs. John does not throw anything away, apparently. So they go into John's storage. And they walk through there. First, they go through one box. Garfield dusts it off, his first bow tie, sunglasses, hat, some smiley stuff, string, wax, and makes Odie look like some sort of goat sheep, with a humanized goat sheep or something. Then they find a chest that must have costumes in it. So Garfield starts going through there. Then he breaks into song again. So pretty efficient. Now we're 7 minutes in. So I guess it's not a musical, but he dresses up like different stuff and sings the song, What Would I Be? What Should I Be? He dresses up as royalty. He dresses up as something that flies through the sky, or a kitty cat, but a different kind of, like a different kitty cat, like one with glowing eyes. And What Should I Be? It's a really nice song. He dresses up as a space person going to a party, a person from another planet, in a tuxedo. And what should I be? And then he dances. He does dance in the vein of Peanuts a little bit. And he goes, I got the costumes for us. Then we cut, so we don't know what the costumes are going to be quite yet. But then we go to John. He's eating lasagna. So lasagna must have been really popular back then. Maybe it was brought to you by lasagna. I don't think so, because it was a comic strip before it was a show or a special. But that would have been interesting. But so Garfield and Odie are dressed as the crew of Lady Witchbeard, or their own independent branch of the same thing Lady Witchbeard's into, sailing the 7 seas. And he's like, just like it was dark like a pirate day. So he's dressed up. He's a Orangebeard, a pirate cat. John loves it, except he takes some of John's lasagna. Odie's his first mate. Odie the puppy. He calls him something else, but John says, you guys look ridiculous. And Garfield doesn't like that. And, but he says, well, you changed my kitty litter. And he goes, are you going out trick-or-treating? And he says, well, here's some sacks. I know you needed costumes and you need sacks. Go out and enjoy it. And Garfield says, come on, Odie, we've got a village to pillage. I think he said something else, too. What? He says, who are you? Well, we don't be the welcome wagon, if that's what you mean. Oh, that was another thing I would look up if I had to look stuff up. So then they head out. John's smiling as they head out. Bye, everybody. Don't be late. They must have a curfew. Garfield eats the rest of the lasagna, too. Cat's got curfew, man. Okay, so then we cut to commercial, at least an actual commercial here. But we got another song coming up. I'll tell you about these commercials. So, but let's see if I can. The first commercial was the same one I saw before. It's for Brick Friends. Then there's stuffed mallow, like mallows, that you could get at a place where you also have food with arches that are gold in a joy box. Then there's an ad for a movie, which my daughter loves, with Kevin, the beings that love bananas. Is that the first one? 1, 2, 3. I guess they're all on. Oh, and then the newest one. So, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 5. So there's 5 different movies with Gru and Kevin and everybody else. Okay, then we cut back to the house. So I think there was a ad break in the original too. We see their house. They live on a corner. Huh. Okay, so last time, so that's helpful for the first shot because, so the first shot when we went through the window, that was the house on one part of the corner, but the front door, I was wrong. Since it's on a corner, it does have a front door with a garage. The garage is attached, not detached. And they have a mailbox, also a weather vane. Yeah, and they go off, they head out unsupervised, dog and cat dressed as pirates, out into the night. Full moon, very nice on pause, like almost like a watercolor, the neighborhood as they head out. And then they sing another song, like a Lady Witchbeard song. That's a little bit of a story, like yo ho, not a pirate's life for me, but 4 winds and Garfield's going on an adventure. We also see other kids out trick-or-treating. As I paused it just now, there's one kid as a pumpkin, there's another kid as a Casper, another kid as Binky, and then another kid dressed very similar to one of the kids from Peanuts. Can't remember who, though. Is there a Penelope? There's no Penelopes, huh? There's Peppermint Patty. I don't think Peppermint Patty was dressed as that, though. I don't know. Kind of like a Lady Witchbeard type, but no, because they don't have a pointy hat. Then they pass another person dressed that way. Odie just, and this was always a question I had as I had a daughter, and then she would get dressed up, or usually she would get dressed up for Halloween to go trick-or-treating. I always wondered, so Odie's having trouble processing this. Every other night I go out, there's just humans. Now there's these other beings everywhere. And I always wondered what Koa or little kids thought of that. I mean, Koa never seemed to, I mean, I guess because maybe she sees by smell. But I said, doesn't the dog's brain be like, what is going on here? But maybe not. I don't know. But that does happen to Odie. And Garfield says, hey, don't worry. These are just kids like us, which I said, that's interesting because you're not kids. You're a dog and a cat. And if you're kids' age, then you're probably like actually young adults or in, I don't know, your 30s if you're kids. But that aside, he says, hey, Odie, don't worry about it. These are just kids dressed up. But then we get another piece of humor, which is like first they show that one kid is dressed up and the kid, then our Garfield sings another song. So song 4, that's at 10:41. I put exclamation point, 4 songs. And all that plot in just 10 minutes and 41 seconds. This is taking me 30 minutes to talk about this. Which is pretty good, huh? Okay, so they head off. So they run. He says, see, Odie, this is just a kid dressed up as someone. And he's singing about this, so how brave a cat he is. I think this might be a Lou Rawls song, but I'm not positive. Then they see a Casper. But really, it's a large-footed being dressed as a Casper, trick-or-treating. Garfield and Odie don't like that. Then Garfield keeps singing, and they're walking past this fence again. Great imagery, and they see someone. So this is at 11 minutes and 8 seconds, dressed as Gargamel from the Smurfs. I mean, I don't even know if I don't know if that show was on the air yet, but it clearly, if you pause it and you're a little bit open-minded, you say, that's Gargamel. That's someone, it's a costume. So it's not Gargamel, but it is someone in a Gargamel from the Smurfs costume. Gargamel's a wizard. And we even get a reveal that it's actually Gargamel dressed as Gargamel. So that's the second reveal. Which they say, Gargamel, we're not Smurfs. We know you're non-positive. Still singing. We pass like a third set of background, another kind of like a metal fence. Garfield sings about being sassy. Another Casper. And this one, Garfield says, don't worry, I'll check it, Odie. But this is a levitating Casper. So, but that was just more, it's interesting because the song was about how brave Garfield was, but then understandably him and Odie are surprised multiple times. But one of Garfield's inherent characteristics is he's really not that brave. But they go trick-or-treating, they get to the first house, and Garfield demands more candy, and the woman relents. First she gives them each, she says, oh, what cute kids. But she relents and gives him more candy. And he says, 1,000 blessings upon your home. But he also says, if you don't give us more candy, I'll alter your living room curtains. Then we get a short montage of them getting tons of candy and looking cute. Then for some reason, they're walking on a dock. I don't know, and Garfield says, we got a lot of candy. This is great. He removes part of his costume so he can walk easier. But then he says, by the way, we live on a river, Odie. If we could get to the other side of the river, we'd have a whole nother neighborhood to trick-or-treat in. And is he singing this? He says, shouldn't we just be satisfied with the candy? Or is this like one of my, 7 things that are non-positive about me? And they says, yeah, let's just take the boat across. Come on, Odie. We'll go get more candy. Odie kind of rolls with everything. We also see that there's just that the dock. Oh, no, that's the next dock. Then they get in this rowboat. But Garfield is good, very imaginative. So they get in the boat, and he's still pretending he's in character. So he says, shove off, me matey. put out the oars because they're just floating in the current. Odie just knocks the oars overboard. And he says, okay, we're just drifting. Maybe we're going to drift a long time. Also, a lot of that going was like, yeah, I'm going to get more candy, right? That's the spirit of Halloween. So then they're still going down, like, gibber the gibbish, he says, like, shave off the top side, bend the hatches, trim the main, swip the sheets, gibber the gibbish, call my mommy, shove off, top side. So then we have a break, like not a real break, but a break if you're watching over the air. Then Garfield's kind of tired. He wants to go home and go to bed or whatever. And he said, I can't believe this, but Odie's excited. They're in the mist. I got to stop. I got to just be me. Garfield, the house cat, gourmet, world traveler, monde bon, or whatever they say, or whatever that is. And Odie says, hey, by the way, there's an island coming up, shrouded in mist with a house. Shiver me timbers, that's when he says that. Land ho. So they go up on this island. So this is not even the midway point. We're at 15 minutes, and we get another pretty drastic shift in the storytelling. But I think for very effective when you think about this is a Halloween special, you're probably watching but 2 to 4 back to back. You got to have some Halloween oomph and the spirit of the season. So I kind of like the choice in the sense of like, okay, first it was about trick-or-treating. Now we're going to give you a little oomph and doing it in a way that's kind of flows instead of like, hey, now Garfield's going to tell you a story or something. So they get to this island. Even though the skies are clear, it's thundering and lightning, for mood. And they say, well, there's a light on in the house. Somebody must have lived there. They're no longer trick-or-treating, though. I don't think. Garfield looks in. They see a warm fire. Maybe somebody's chilling in there, maybe not. Then this is where I say Garfield's not that courageous because he says, Odie, why don't you go in there and look around, more or less? I'll open the door and you go in there and are you ready? And he can't get the door open, but so he says, okay, let's just go in nice and slow then. This old house, light windows. Odie, check it out. They go in the house. The door opens very slowly. More thunder and lightning. We see a clock, like a grandfather clock. Yeah, I guess so. And it's 11:45 p.m. Then there's a nice easy chair in front of a fireplace. House doesn't look under the best of conditions, but Garfield suspects it's deserted, even though there's a fire in the fireplace. Let's get warmed up. This is more like it. So they're cold. They've been in the rowboat. Then we see an older gentleman resting by the fire. But the thing is, like, it's just the animation style is so different. And again, I think in a very archetypal good way, because he's actually, like, seems to just want to tell them a story, but he also has, like, a very strong voice eventually. But Garfield and Odie weren't expecting the gentleman to be warming himself by the fire in his chair. So they're very surprised. And he says, stop running around and listen up. I'm going to tell you a tale. He goes, this isn't the greatest night to come. Because this is a celebration night. And Garfield's like, okay, we'll just head out. He goes, oh, no, you're going to stay and listen to my tale. This is a tale never told. Never been told before tonight. He's got a green sweater on and red checkered pants. And first, he kind of does a humble brag. I guess by definition, a humble brag in his story. Because he says, yada, yada, yada. I'm 110 years old. And And I said, wait a second. Can I do the math? Yeah, he's 110 years old. He looks great for 110 years old. As a matter of fact, I'd say I've never seen somebody look that good. I mean, he's animated. But I said, it's the best looking 110-year-old I've ever seen portrayed by major media, even in a cartoon. But I'm just double check. Because first he says, oh, he's drooling there. He's so excited to tell his tale, he's drooling. But he says, are you familiar with the movie Barbie, A Fairy's Secret? And Garfield and Odie are not. So they look at one another and he goes, do you want to know a secret? A secret? And they're like, what is this guy talking about? And he goes, 100 years ago, before there was a movie of Barbie, A Fairy's Secret, I knew about a fairy's secrets. And they say, is there an echo in here? He goes, when you say that, there is, or you sing it. Because 100 years ago, there was a band of chalk fairies. And Garfield says, chalk fairies? And he says, yes, chalk fairies. And he just holds up his hand, no more questions. And they had a secret. And the Garfield doesn't say this. He says, yeah, a fairy secret. It's a chalk fairy secret in this case. And he says that was 100 years ago. By the way, I was 10 and I worked for the fair. He says they're I was the dust collector. I collect the chalk dust. Because we would reuse it. It maintains their, their mass. They have to reabsorb chalk dust or fresh chalk. Never mind, I'm going off topic, he said. But he goes, the fairy's secret 100 years ago, even though I was 10, 100 years ago I was 10, so Scooter's math does hold up. He goes, this is where they gather for a fairy celebration. Never, I don't know if it's never before or every year. Also, I mean, this guy is 110, but I think he had his dates wrong because he says at midnight, Halloween. So I guess maybe I'm wrong. Is midnight Halloween like when it turns to Halloween? So is midnight Halloween is 12 o'clock, the start of Halloween, all after all, like the evening, like 12:00 a.m. That's midnight Halloween, or is 11:59 on the 31st? That turns to November 1st, Halloween Eve. But luckily for our movie or our special, I guess it is the transfer from Halloween to November 1st. Because that's when the fairies come to this particular house, or they're supposed to come once every 100 years. Just tonight is the night. Under penalty of, can't even remember what happened in the Fairy's Secret movie, but of loss of Bibble. You could lose Bibble, who's Barbie's, can't remember. I may be mixing up my movies too. But at the stroke of midnight, the fairies are showing up to party. But they're chalk fairies, so you can't be here because you'll be covered in chalk and sneezing your nose off. By the way, this guy was a human. So Garfield and Odie are obviously confused by this whole thing. But he's like, I'm 110 years old. I can't be breathing in chalk either. Not like when I was 10. So I guess Odie and Garfield are so confused that while they're confused, the old man takes their boat and leaves. I don't mean that pejoratively. He is 110 years old. So it's like you can't get much older than that, really. So he heads out on their boat. Garfield's like, that boat had our candy in it. And while it's okay to feed, he shouldn't have any candy. He's 110 years old. Also, he said something about the chalk fairies coming and dancing and partying. We're not invited. He made it sound like it wasn't a good idea to be here. And So then the very archetypal clock, grandfather clock sound rings midnight. Oh, also during his tale, there was an awesome sound effect of the fireplace, almost like a record. So that was really cool. And, okay, so then what happens is then the chalk fairies arrive. They come in a glowing ship, and they are made of chalk, like chalk you would put on a chalkboard but back in the day, back before there was dry erase boards. Again, because this was 1985. And the chalk is kind of glowing. So it's not just regular chalk, it's glow-in-the-dark chalk. Chalk with luminescent features. And they can hear it like they're saying, do you want to know secret a secret? Just like the songs. They even sing the songs from Mermaid's Tale. So Garfield and Odie are confused. Then the fairies say, time for hide and seek. If anybody's not invited to the party, you'll have to leave if we find you. If you can hide, you're welcome to enjoy the party hidden. But, if we seek you, then you'll have to leave the party. And just, they're not familiar with the movie or anything. So, because I think Odie said something about a fashion fairy tale, and Garfield knows, no, it's not a fashion fairy tale. And he says, but that's fairy tale. Like, the fairies are in that movie, too. Garfield's like, I think he said a fairy secret, chalk fairies. Then there's, like, a glowing box of, like, fairy party favors. And then Odie starts sneezing because of the chalk. And the chalk fairies are like, wait a second. We didn't even start counting yet. No party favors for you guys. And so Garfield and Odie are like, we got to get out. I don't know. We got to get out of here because of the chalk dust. And so they head out of the house. They try to get some air on the dock. There's an extra piece of action that, like, one of the boards in the dock isn't good, but Odie recovers from that. And then the chalk dust gets on their fur. And Garfield's like, Odie, we got to get this off our fur. Because remember, like, when John met that scooter and he would talk about putting chalk dust on the brick walls and how much he got, at school, and that wasn't allowed. Even the rain wouldn't get the chalk dust off the walls, according to the nuns. And it turned out to be true. So they go to scrub off in the river. And then Odie's like, I guess I got to do swimming for both of us because you're a cat. So Garfield says, yes, please. So they go swimming together in a river, so there's enough to get the chalk off of them. Then they get up on shore, and he says, I owe you one, Odie. You really did this was not a great night. Let's go home and go to bed. What a bummer. But then Odie points and he says, there's our candy. There's the boat with the candy. The name of the boat's the Carolyn, interestingly enough. I don't know who it's a tribute to, but probably somebody named Carolyn, Carolyn. So Garfield's happy again, happy ending, he says. We got the treasure, we got our candy. They walk home. There's a cut, then there's a closing segment, and Garfield says to Odie, listen, this is out of character for me, but you really came in handy tonight, and I guess I was supposed to learn a lesson because this is the 80s, and, I got to give up something of great personal worth and sacrifice because I learned a moral. So I'm going to give you half of the candy, your fair share, Odie. Odie licks him and takes off. And then Garfield says, I think I'll watch TV. He turns on TV. The 110-year-old man's on TV. And he's been awarded a late night TV special, like, for Barbie Marathon. And he's like, so next up is a fashion fairy tale. He's kind of setting it up, but, that's it. Then we get, the credits, and there's actually like a kind of, art of like from the show, from the credits, It's really good. And it reminds me of Mandalorian of all things. The other thing is Lorenzo Music is the voice of Garfield, which is ironic for a bunch of reasons. Like one is that he worked on Rhoda in the Bob Newhart show, as well as being like this prolific voice actor. That's according to Wikipedia, though. So I haven't looked it up anywhere else. But I was like, why is that name so familiar? So it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's the Garfield special. I'm just looking. Garfield's dressed up as a being from outer space right now. Then there's them collecting their candy, them on a boat. And yeah, 1985. What a year, man. So I hope you enjoyed this. I guess maybe that's why I wasn't quite aged out of Garfield or animation in 85, but maybe by 87 I was. So I don't know. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. And don't worry, Bibble's out there somewhere, probably with Garfield. Also, Garfield has a stuffed animal, a stuffed bear. Maybe you could have a stuffed Bibble. Well, good night, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this seasonal episode, because I love bringing you seasonal stuff. Thanks. Hey, boys, this is Scoots. I just took the Helix quiz. You probably heard it in our pre-roll message. This is your tuck you in message. And I'm checking out the Helix Twilight Luxe. I'm probably going to get it with the Glaciotex cooling cover and the Cool Force layer. And I'm going to get it shipped straight to my door free of charge. And all I did was go to helixsleep.com/sleep, and I took the Helix quiz because I missed my old Helix so much. I couldn't move with it. But it was also a great opportunity to get a new Helix because my firmness preference, I think, has changed. I'm looking for something firmer. I've just been sleeping on a lot of firm beds over the past 3 or 4 months. And I really have missed my Helix every single night since I had to say goodbye. Parting wasn't sweet sorrow. It was just sorrow. But now it'll be sweet to be reunited with a new Helix that fits my sleep needs, my feel preferences. So you and your partner should take that Helix quiz. Or if you're looking for a mattress for your kid, for your parents, have them take that quiz. helixsleep.com/sleep. See which Helix they get matched with. Let me know about it. And then guess what? That mattress will be shipped straight to your door. Helix makes it so easy and personal because it's not about the mattress that's right for everybody. It's about the mattress that's right for you, for your sleep, your needs. And Helix always has amazing deals for our listeners. So go to helixsleep.com/sleep to see the latest offers for Sleep With Me listeners. That's helixsleep.com/sleep for current offers. Make sure you enter our show name after checkout so they know we sent you. That's helixsleep.com/sleep. Thanks, everybody.